Welcome, everyone, to the 25th episode of Boardwalk Broadcasting Company. Tonight, I am joined by Delethorus, Mel, and by the skin of his teeth, the last second, Noslim. Thanks for joining us again, Noslim. We have missed you on the stream. Tonight, we're going to be discussing several different topics, including map voting, because that is the hot topic right now, and a couple other things that we found of interest. So, first and foremost, our contest. We are returning to our old contest tonight, so that link will be popping up in the Twitch chat here momentarily. We are going to be doing the code phrase tonight. Winners will receive an item of their choice worth $10 out of the Chronicles of Valyria shop. I will announce that winner at the end of the show. Tonight's code phrase is "The map's secret is in the legend." So we do look for Chronicles of Valyria themed funny or serious responses for that winner. Bear in mind, you're still more than welcome to chat over in the Twitch and ask questions. If I see one I really like, I will bring it up tonight. So before we jump into map voting, there was a forum thread that some of us in the Boardwalk creative team noticed and wanted to discuss. So that was the COE An Extraordinary Social Experiment post by Alt Ogre of the Duchy of Honor. Sorry if I said that wrong, which is in the Kingdom of Demalion, which is on the EU server in Selene. So Mel, why don't you start us off with what caught your attention about that post?
Well, I was just kind of browsing through it and kind of started reading through it, and it definitely caught my eye just because it is interesting, because this is kind of the first development team that has let their community have such a large amount of input on the actual development of the game. I mean, especially with map voting coming up, it seemed really relevant considering that we're actually getting to select our maps that we're going to be using on our different servers. So it was an interesting read. I'm not going to summarize all of it, but I do encourage everyone to go out and read it. It was definitely an interesting read. But it did kind of make me think, Valyria is going to be pretty well completely dependent on the community involvement. And I think we saw that with the Searing Plague. We really had to work together, and all of our communities had to really come together to succeed. And it won't be easy, and it's definitely never easy having to rely on other players to provide the things that you need. But I think that that's kind of why we've got the contract system. It's some way to enforce or have players keep their word. If you're giving so much money to a player who's a banker in the game, you want some guarantee that they're not just gonna take it, put it in a sack and run. And that's kind of what the contract system is doing. So I'm excited to see how it's going to work in game. It won't be easy, but I think definitely it will be one of the most interesting games to see how everybody interacts.
For sure. And what was mentioned in the post too was that this isn't just a phrase that's been thrown around on the forums in the COE forums. It's actually been on other websites. They did link an article where another big company that does articles on games mentioned that this seems to be like a social experiment. So Noslim, any thoughts from you on the social experiment nature of COE?
No, not at all. I got nothing.
He's going to abstain from this because otherwise he might go on a rant.
Yeah, I've been wanting to abstain from a lot of stuff lately within COE. I love COE and I enjoy every moment of this amazing community, but there's just sometimes when it's best if I don't talk.
Indeed. Okay. Well, I thought I would give you a fair refusal there. So
I mean, I really don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's not that it's that bad. I'm focused on something else at the moment, honestly.
Totally fine. D, social experiment, COE, thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. But then I'm somebody that believes that pretty much most MMOs are social experiments to one extent or another, with a lot of them failing. Particularly, some of the more recent ones, like unfortunately Life is Feudal, Conan Exiles, Citadel. These are all kind of like early access games that seem to show a lot of promise, but the social dynamics, the way that they're set up as to how players interact, is it basically it makes the servers relatively short-lived. And I think that what you're going to be looking at here with COE, because of the vast scale of it, the only game that I could really compare it to would be kind of like EVE Online, which has just got such a vast map. And it's very much, regulated to a large extent by the player community. The the entire economy is player driven. They have, basically a real life parliament for EVE Online now, with, their representatives for the different kind of like guilds, which they call corporations, etc. over there. It's, it's a part of the game that I'm really truly looking forward to, in as much that, how do we have people committed in a feudal system where you can't enact, in a way, the discipline that was in place for a feudal system in real life? Like, you can't tell a person, no, you're going to stay in your village and this is what you're going to do. Basically, if you ask them to do something they don't want, they're going to just say fuck off, and they're going to move somewhere else. So it's kind of like creating an environment, a society, so to speak, with kind of like more of today's norms, and trying to embed that with a feudal system overlay.
Sure, absolutely. Lion said microcosms divided by social interaction, which is possibly why we might see a large diversity before becoming interconnected, either in a positive or negative light. Think rate of growth will play a large part. Absolutely. The more people we get into the groups, the more chaotic it's going to get. I am a therapist, as many people know, and we see a lot of the time, anytime you get a group over four people, so me, Dee, Noslim, and Mel, anything over that, and you start to get some really crazy dynamics. So when you're talking these groups of thousands of people, things are definitely hard to judge, hard to gauge how they're going to go. A comment from that particular forum that I wanted to jump on and then move right into map voting. Sayer commented in the forums that they had played another game and needed another player to make a crafting item for them in order to do what they needed, but they couldn't find anyone. So they got frustrated and basically logged out and didn't come back for a while. So here's the quote from them: "Having to rely on other players is not a bad thing when the server has a healthy population and is active. It's those times when it's not so active that causes a chain reaction that ends in everyone quitting in frustration." So that's one of the concerns that's been brought up. My response to that is to remember that although this is so based on social dynamics, it's not solely based on social dynamics, because depending on how you put your town together and the NPCs that you do attract, NPCs can trade and craft and things like that. So hopefully we're not entirely limited to just other players, but we're going to rely on them more than NPCs, far more than in any other game. And we do need to kind of have player characters crafting what NPCs are doing. So it's going to take a lot of really careful player management. If I'm creating contracts with my NPCs that are going to get them to do what I want them to do, then I can kind of gauge the needs of my people and make sure that is an option. But people are going to have to work together in this game in a way that hasn't been seen in a lot of other games. I know the big concern is PvP, but we have to remember Soulbound's definition of PvP is very different than most other people's. So anything else on that topic before we move into map voting?
No, I'm good.
Noslim's just gonna...
Still don't know what we're talking about.
Noz is out.
COE being a social experiment, Noz.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read the forum posts. I've been busy with like real life things today, which is unusual for me. But yeah, I didn't read the post. But I mean, yeah, it's sometimes I wonder if we're all Caspian's little guinea pigs,
Vise, actually.
Yeah, Vise. Yeah, Vise. Yeah, that's probably more appropriate, I'm sure. And so he picks little groups of us and plays with us from time to time, and then shoos us away sometimes. It's great.
Caspian says you are. See, he's here lurking. Oh, goodness.
It's official.
It's official. All right. So map voting. What do we currently know about map voting? Why don't we go ahead and cue Dee's next exciting video in the series of Dee Makes Very Exciting Videos.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another BBC live stream informational video. Tonight's topic is map voting, the basics. I think we should start off with addressing the question of why are we even voting for a map in the first place? The answer for me is twofold. First of all, I believe that it's a basic concept of the Meow genre that Chronicles of Elyria is pioneering and defining. Meow stands for Massively Evolving Online World. In this case, the operative word being evolving. Before the game has even launched, we've already participated in one significant world-altering event, the Searing Plague. Map voting allows us, the Chronicles of Elyria community, to yet again influence the world of Elyria, this time on an individual server level. To quote Caspian, the reason why we are giving the players the choice is because the shape of the map and locations of the biomes and political boundaries has a huge impact on the strategy of each kingdom and their domains. If we just set the map ourselves, we could force one kingdom into a disadvantage. It leaves it up to the kingdoms and their respective communities on each server to sort out. And for me, this is part of Caspian's fair but not equitable core philosophy for COE. And just like in Game of Thrones, an intrinsic part of the Dance of Dynasties. Not everybody who thinks they have an overwhelming advantage at the start is going to make it to the end of the story. Okay, so let's move on to some of the mechanics that we know are going to be in place for the map voting. We know that map voting will be website-based, and with the exception of the Oceanic server, in round one we will have 20 maps to choose from. Based upon some comments Caspian has made, and him stating that map voting is mostly about setting the geopolitical boundaries on each server, I believe, perhaps mistakenly, that the first set of 20 maps will be mainly showing the outline of the continent as well as kingdom and duchy boundaries. Prettier maps will be shown for round two of the voting. The reason for that being, again quoting Caspian, is that he had a concern that if the maps were too detailed in round one, people would focus on which map is prettier rather than which one is best for their server. Presumably referencing his earlier comment regarding map voting being primarily about setting the geopolitical boundaries. Voting is influence-based, and you can vote as many times as you have sparks of life. Note that if you have 3 sparks of life and no influence, your vote will count for little, if anything at all. Be aware that each time you vote, your influence is divided by the total amount of votes you made. So if you have 10,000 influence and vote for 2 maps, with 1 spark for each map will receive 5,000 influence. Voting during round one will be open voting, meaning that we will be able to see the changes in the vote tallies for each map as it goes on throughout the duration of round one. At the end of round one, the 5 maps with the highest amount of influence will move on to round 2. Round 2's voting will be closed, meaning we won't know which map we will have on a server until the voting has ended and the winning map is declared. That's all I have for now until the details and maps are released in 2 days' time on Thursday, October the 18th. In closing, I would like to thank Soulbound Studios for taking the extra time to involve the community on such an important decision. I'm not aware of any MMO on the scale that COE aspires to be involving its community in such a decision-making process as Soulbound Studios is doing for us. Put quite simply, it's fucking unheard of, and is just one of the many things that makes Chronicles of Elyria and Meow and not the same old MMOs that other studios are churning out.
I said in the Twitch chat we need to do a D F-bomb counter during the streams just for fun. So as always, yep, just keep a little tally. It just ticks up. Thank you, Dee, for making that video. As always, your videos are super entertaining and informative at the same time. And shameless little plug here. It is because of our Patreon that we are able to make content like that and how Dee is able to continue to have the service to make videos like that. So if you have not considered backing even $1 in our Patreon, please consider doing so. We would love that. So after that, what can we expect to be cleared up with the announcement on the 18th? Any ideas on what additional information we might be getting there?
What you can and can't do.
Okay, so kind of some guidelines.
Yep, left and right lateral limits, all that good stuff.
Yep. Basically making sure none of us can screw it up. That's what I'm looking for.
Caspian says your influence is divided by your total number of votes. If you vote once, it's 100% of your influence. 4 times each is worth 25%. Cool.
Perfect.
What do people need to be aware of before this event starts? I know, Dee, you had kind of blasted out an infographic to the community, just stressing the importance of us needing to get everybody kind of on board and involved. So anything else that you would say people need to be aware of?
I think they need to find out from their own community, whether that's, on a baron or mayor level or county, duchy, or even kingdom level, and perhaps even on a server level, as to what they think is going to be just the most fun map for them to go with, and go for that. I'm really, really glad, and thank you, Caspian, you're here, so I can basically thank you in person for putting the duchy borders in on the map. I'm presuming, like I said in the video, I could be mistaken. I'm hoping that we get to see that the first maps will show the kingdom and the duchy borders, and we can have kind of like an idea there of kind of like, oh, if this person picks this and this, we're most likely going to pick here, so we can at least somewhat speculate, how things might pan out, and then kind of like end up with a selection of maps and vote for those maps that we think are going to be, best serve our own individual communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Capped, one of my citizens, helped summarize kind of a lot of what has been going on in the COE chat. He camps that chat, I swear. I just go to him to ask him, even though I moderate.
Lost your kit.
So it seems that we've lost Kit temporarily here. All I heard was a high-pitched electronic thing, and that was it. So let's see. We're going to have to, I guess, do this on the fly. Anybody else have any ideas as to how the voting might be done within individual communities? Do you think it's going to be kind of like a bunch of individual people just all doing what they want, period? Because for me, this is as important, if not more important, of a community event than the Searing Plague. It's, I mean, this is our map. This is where we're going to be living, potentially until we find the other continents. But some of us might end up living on this map for 10 years of the storyline. What are your thoughts on that, Mel and Noz?
Well, honestly, I think the Searing Plague was actually a really good kind of trial indication of who we can expect to be engaged and active and participating in the community effort for kind of picking the map and deciding what map to vote on, that sort of thing. So we've actually already got kind of a good indication of who we can expect to rely on to be active for it. But there's no way we're going to get 100% participation from everyone. I mean, there's still people who are waiting to see what the map is, where everyone's selecting for the domain before they commit to any communities. So I think there are definitely going to be a fair bit of individual votes as well, just picking purely from a personal gain standpoint of what they like better, of what they're more interested in seeing happen. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of where the votes fall and what's appealing to communities versus individuals.
Cass,
I'm hesitant to.
no,
Best.
you're good. Oh, it's so much better.
Sorry about that. Anyway, go ahead, Naz.
Caspian said the Syrian plague was designed as a way to teach you how to interact and to help you set up channels for communication. So based on that, I expect it to be relatively organized. Absolutely, it's going to be fucking on point. Organization is going to be the number one thing. We're going to make sure everybody knows exactly what to vote for, when to vote for it, and in what order, and it's going to be structured, and everybody's going to be lined up in perfect little single file lines, and we're going to get this thing done, right? It's not going to happen that way.
I don't know. I was feeling your enthusiasm, Naz.
We were so pumped.
But if anything, the Syrian plague tells me that the Kingdom of Boardwall is highly engaged. And I'm going to toot our own horn and not even feel guilty about it a little bit. I mean, we put out that Google spreadsheet for the Syrian plague and had hundreds, 500, 600 people signed up on that thing, actively participating daily. And those same people are going to be here ready for map voting, ready to put the needs of the kingdom first and vote as a team on what we decide and what our monarch believes is in our best interest. And it's going to be an awesome community event. It's going to be good. I expect huge participation from Boardwall, and I expect my constituents, my mayors, my barons, and their citizens to listen to me just this once, because it's important, and we're gonna work on what we think is best for us, and it's gonna be cool.
Meanwhile, Mel and I are overthrowing Nazlim behind the scenes with wine.
I did just get wine from one of my citizens. Just sent me a gift certificate for wine, so that's super exciting. So I'll send you a bottle kit.
Thank you. I need somebody to send me wine. So something brought up by Serpentius to make sure everybody is aware is that map voting is not server selection. So just because you vote on maps does not mean you are locked into that server. That happens at a later stage. So do keep that in mind. The thing I was trying to read, and I don't know if in the chaos of my screeching and all of that, this got answered, but according to the quote that my citizen Cap pulled, the first round will be the silhouette and have regions indicated in color for biomes, lines for kingdom and duchy boundaries. So we should have that. And in general, they said we need a continent long enough to cover the biomes we're including, and one that is both 28% of the total landmass as well as maintains a roughly 2-to-1 ratio of length to width. So in that regard, they're all similar.
No. Let's hold on, because Caspian just called me and Mel out for not coming to see him when we were in Seattle. But he should know that my dear friend Serp kept us to himself and denied Caspian the opportunity to spend with this lovely panel of people. So
we could have had coffee.
That's a true story. So Caspian, don't blame us. That's your community manager. You should have a talk with him. Okay, sorry, Kit, go ahead.
Goodness. Flame wars happen on over here.
Always gets
Nazlim with the
blame.
mistress.
He's used to it. I mean,
Poor
it's fine.
Serp.
Poor Serp does always get the blame. I love Serp. Serp's my fave. I'm sorry, Serp. I'm sorry that Nazlim does this to you. It's all him.
Yep.
Blame him. So again, sorry that I'm a little bit discombobulated after my screeching. Does this process, do you guys think, give an unfair advantage to those who have had longer time building their communities?
Maybe not.
I wouldn't say it's unfair. Just, I mean, because it's not like you could guarantee to get everyone in and involved on the same day. So you kind of, people that found it, invested and started building a community early, it's not necessarily unfair that they have larger communities just because they, at least that's how I see it.
No, and I mean, just because they started recruiting early and they have a larger community doesn't mean they're going to show up. And we've seen some of that with the Syrian plague. Some of these different groups reported oh, we got hundreds and we got thousands of people, and they never showed up.
Yeah, I mean, with the Syrian plague event, we saw very large communities, some with absolutely no turnout, and some smaller communities with practically everyone turning out. So that definitely has something, to consider. I do know that with the announcement that has been blasted out from D, that a lot of us have been sending those out to our smaller communities, and that is getting some inactive people active, in that they're seeing that it's something they can get involved with that is not as crazy involved as the Syrian plague was, because some people just didn't want to engage with that, unfortunately. Do you think that people are going to vote independently for which map they personally believe is best? Or will they follow the lead of their monarch and choose maps their monarch best thinks serves the needs of the community?
I think that entirely depends on how their community is structured and set up. I think Boardwall is a community-centric group, and its focus is its community. It's, you've got tribe-centric groups that are focused on one tribe or one biome, and that's all that matters. That's not us. That's not our culture. We're team players here. We look out for one another. We're not trying to stab one another in the back, and we believe here, as you climb up that ladder, those are going to be the people, when you fall down, those are going to be the people there to help you back up it, so and there's different communities that don't think that way, and they don't operate that way, so to be seen.
Damn it, Nas. You did not say cream rises to the top, and I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Well, that can be our other counter. We can have the F-bombs for D and the cream for Nas.
Yeah, D.
Go. Yeah, I often get asked, and increasingly so, obviously, in this short lead up to map voting, is like, D, do you have a favorite tribe? Do you have a favorite biome? Is that what we're going to be voting on? And I think, and again, this is obviously, specific to our particular server on NA East and the political situation that we encounter and are challenged with there. But we have an empire that basically consists of three kingdoms there, and so we're going to be choosing based upon what we believe is going to be the best strategic kind of like placement for our kingdom, and that's the map that we're going to go for that will offer those opportunities. I specifically have avoided picking a particular biome or a particular tribe that I would like, because I don't want that even subconsciously affecting what I believe is a decision that should be made, again, for our particular community, that should be made in the best interests of the community itself. I often get told, oh, wow, but D, you've got $20,000 invested or donated to the development of the game. It should be your choice. And I always come back around to that at the last kind of like guesstimate, and that's all we can do is guess, is, our community of Boardwall has contributed over $400,000 as an entire community towards the development of Soulbound Studios. And so my own personal amount is just a small fraction of that. And I'm basically like the custodian of that portfolio that is going to be getting close to $500,000 and will exceed that as time goes on. And so, the decision that we make for which map to vote on isn't being made upon any kind of like personal choice or preference of my own, but kind of like what we believe will be in the best interest for us to not only survive but thrive during the initial year or two after game launch. I think that probably best sums it up from my perspective.
Right. There's a lot of factors to consider, and I know that most of the leadership that I know in Boardwall, at least, is looking out for their community, their the bigger picture rather than just themselves. So I think that that's definitely there could be people that will make choices on a leadership scale to get what they want, but I definitely don't see that happening here. So is there Is there a chance for a server's map voting to be rigged? As in, if a server is 100% in agreement on which map it wants, could it be possible that a monarch could use their standing with communities on other servers to come in and sway the vote for a map on their own server? Do we think there could be any kind of rigging that happens? I'm just watching Nazim's face.
With what I've seen in this community, I'm not. Is that possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Is it going to happen? Is everyone going to get along? All kumbaya? I have no fucking clue. But what I do know is it is 100% possible. Someone can do something to manipulate the community in their favor and dance the dance all nice and pretty and say the right things and then fuck over all those people that they promised. I mean, it's just gonna happen. We'll see. I don't know.
Please
Sure.
do the dance again.
Yeah.
Yes, Naz, do the dance.
It was great.
We're just gonna have a dance party on the stream. I think people will come for
We
that.
should make that a GIF.
We
Holy
should.
shit, there's
Yeah.
like 70 people on the stream. I better behave.
A little late.
We don't know who those people are, though, Naz. Maybe misbehaving is exactly what they want.
Well, they came to the right place.
So Nazim has opinions on that. I think that it can happen. Will it happen? I don't know. We've seen it happen in previous events, so I'm curious. Do we know what will happen if the same map is chosen for more than one server? I feel like that has been talked about somewhere. Does anybody have information on that?
Yeah, I think that, and Caspian, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, I believe that if that was going to be the case, then the server that had the most, at that time it was votes, so that would transpose now to influence. The map that had the most influence on a server, that's where that map would be chosen. You wouldn't have the same map on two servers, and the other server that had fewer votes for their first choice of map, it would then default to their second choice of map. Again, Caspian, correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
He just wrote a book.
Yeah, I'll read it. He just said, and this is regarding votes, given 10 people divided into the 3 servers, 3, 3, 4, it's mathematically more efficient to put your votes into your own server, increasing your votes, rather than downvoting the map on other servers. In the former case, you're increasing your likelihood of getting your map versus all other servers. By downvoting your map on other servers, you're only decreasing the odds on a single server. So that probably has to do with sort of that ability to
After you started
work with other people.
rambling on and on about different numbers, all I heard was like a bunch of numbers there, and then it was like,
number.
yep, I didn't get anything after that.
Basically, it's not efficient to vote on someone else's server.
That's what I like. Thank you.
Yeah. See, I'm a great summarizer.
Thanks.
I'm also a great reworder of assholes, apparently. But that's
Yeah.
another story for
Yes.
another day.
I actually am going to challenge Noslim's claim that he was late to kind of like getting organized for the live stream because he was at work. I think he snuck off for happy hour.
I did
for an
I
hour
worked
or
a
two.
10-hour day, and I'm delirious. But what Kid is talking about in our meetings, some people don't appreciate the way I deliver certain things. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. But I've told her to scribble what I say and translate it to, what's acceptable for most people. And so she's agreed to do that. So our meetings should be more productive now. That's aside,
Indeed.
nothing related to this. So.
Side note, but if you're a Chronicles of Valyria person and you need somebody to translate your assholery, that's apparently me. Serp says
Highly
bottom line.
recommend it.
Serp says bottom line, vote for what you want and not what you don't want someone else to get. Caspian followed up, vote for your map on your server. Don't vote against your map on another server. It's pointless and a losing strategy. So yeah, all great points. Regarding map voting, so yeah, the same map, Caspian didn't comment on whether or not it would go to the higher influence, but I think that I know I've read that somewhere, that they're not going to let the same map be on 2 servers. So how do we think people are going to vote? Let's talk a little bit about IP. Naz, do you have that image of the comment that from Caspian?
I do.
All right, if you wouldn't mind putting that up. So this is a quote from Caspian. We wanted to take a minute to talk about it. Domain settlement selection. During domain and settlement selection, the kings, dukes, counts, etc. will have the opportunity to select a region in influence order. So I believe you're asking whether you as a count can contribute IP somehow to your lieges. The answer is yes. We've long felt that the work the kings, dukes, and counts do to build up communities influences the success of the game, and as such is worthy of influence. So at some point after map voting and server selection, and before domain and settlement selection, we'll likely give people a way to pledge to their mayor, count, duke, and king. At that point, some influence will trickle up, granting the lieges additional influence. This isn't set in stone yet, and we don't have the formulas in place, but it seems to us the most logical way to reward the hard work and of the aristocracy and nobility have done to recruit players into their communities and provide them a place to call home. So the first things that jump out to me here is when map voting happens, like your IP is going to kind of be locked at whatever it is when you vote. So if you want to up your influence right now might be a good time to purchase some things in the store. But there is going to be that opportunity after map voting for your IP to still count, and that is with domain and settlement selection. So this ability to trickle influence up is really important. So before I ask for feedback, Caspian did just say regarding what Dee said, we'll look for first, second, and third places on each server. Ties will go toward the one with the highest number of votes, not influence. Making it based on the number of votes instead of raw influence for ties means the highest number of actual players benefit from the tie. So thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, and I would like to interject on that and actually ask Caspian directly here. Does that mean, for example, let's say that we're on round 2 and we're voting for the final map. Is it then better for me if I know that there's one map that I want to vote on, since it's not going to be gauged by influence, is it better then for me to put all 30 votes into the one map rather than just vote for that map once? It'll still give it the same amount of influence, but it'll have 30 or 29 more votes on it.
Round 2 is purely influence based.
Says Caspian. Yeah. The highest number of votes, not influence. Yeah, that's a good question, Dee. Like if you just dump one vote and that's all of them versus 30 individuals. Well, I guess that's a good point of clarification too. Like if you have 30 votes to cast and you don't cast all 30, does that mean that the one you cast gets 100% of your influence? Or does that mean you only have what, like, I can't math.
It'll still get 100% of your influence if you vote for the map. If you have, let's say you're voting on map A and you have 10,000 influence, right? If you vote for it once on that map, you will be awarding it 10,000 influence. My question, I guess, is if you have 30 sparks, can you vote for the same map 30 times? It'll still get the 10,000 influence because all 30 of those are going towards the same map. But will the amount of votes that you cast?
Okay, he just answered. So I'm going to interrupt
gotcha.
you.
Thank you, Caspian.
By number of votes, he means number of unique people voting.
Excellent. Thank you.
Doesn't matter whether you vote once or vote 10 times, all for the same maps. The total influence contributed would be the same. Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. That's good to know. Good deal. So with the trickle up that I read the quote from, what are our thoughts on that? I know that's kind of been thrown around. That was back in September that comment was made. I personally think that that's incredibly awesome because that's going to help mayors that have been working their butts off to recruit. That's going to help counts that have lots of mayors underneath them and so on. So what are the other implications of sort of this trickle up effect? Any thoughts on that?
The implications is that the people that have been busting their ass for this community are going to be recognized by the studio. And I think it's, I don't know, I'm sure you know how difficult it is to recruit for this game because, you know, there's just, you know, there's not a lot to do at this point unless you're aristocracy or unless you're nobility. And how many friends do you have out there that wants to put $300 down on a pre-alpha game? You know, there's just not a lot out there. I've only got like 4 friends in the whole damn world anyway. You know, so and none of them are gamers.
We didn't make the cut, kid.
Yeah, so. So my point is, it's difficult to recruit for this game. We all know how hard it is, right? And we're out there day in and day out, and you know we're preaching COE to the masses, and I think it's awesome that they're going to recognize that, and I think it's also an incentive to new mayors that are coming into the community to get out there and try to pull some people in, because they'll be recognized for that as well.
I'm so upset right now, Nas.
That's what I do.
I'm so upset. But Caspian says he's your friend, so there's that. I'm not your friend apparently, but Caspian is. Mel, any thoughts on the trickle up?
Oh my God, my mind's drawing a blank right now. It's back in a day.
Totally fine. No, you and I are just shooketh over here because we're not Nas's friend.
I know, I'm still reeling.
We're just blown away, Nas. Blown away.
Well, I can chip in on that then while Mel's gathering her thoughts.
Go for it.
I like the I like the proposal. You know, we need to stress the fact that it's conceptual at the moment. It isn't guaranteed that it will happen. Let's make that very, very clear. It's something that they're kind of like mulling over and discussing. I like the fact that it is going to reward, you know, regardless of which kingdom the people are in, those that have been the most active and those that have been the most proactive are going to be rewarded based upon the amount of effort and time that they've spent building their own communities. And as has been pointed out, it's difficult to build the community. It requires a lot of effort. And I think they rightfully should be rewarded. My only concern would be, and again, this is kind of like an extreme situation, but I would hate to see the situation being gamed by, again, somebody that has so much IP that they know they can't be overtaken. And I'm going to throw this one out. I'm not making any accusations here whatsoever. I want to preempt by saying that. But we have the situation, for example, with Adam, with the two kingdoms on NA East, and he rightly will be picking first. But what if he was to get, because he knows he's secure in that situation, what if he got some of his dukes to pledge to, for instance, say Blah, who they've now allied with, that would then bump Blah up in the selection process when Blah himself actually has done relatively little, and that was his kind of like his game plan, which is again fine. It's my main concern is that the system isn't gamed and that it rewards the people who actually did the work, so to speak.
Yeah, I could definitely see a situation where it does potentially become something that again can be gamed. I mean, this goes back to the map voting process as well. Naslim, what are you smiling about over there?
You played Gloria Victis for like 20 minutes, and Mel too. You like 20 minutes, and so I've put like 200 hours in that game in the last month. So yeah, and I have a life. Obviously, I didn't make it. Almost didn't make it here, but yeah, I don't know if I would call y'all gamers at the moment because we haven't really gamed a whole lot lately. But that's another story.
That's a whole other story. Caspian just said something very important. Is that what you were about to jump on?
No, because if we do the trickle up, you'll be locked to setting in the domain of the person you trickle up to. That's great. And a point that I wanted to make, that's awesome, you know, and so and we need that stability, you know. We got people bouncing around all over the place and you know, wasting a lot of my time, and then I'm just going to leave and go join Fortuna overnight. Okay, fine, after, you know, making me talk to you for 14 hours straight. All right, but so now what we have is Caspian said, wow. So now what we have is we have these communities that are so big and so large, right? Are they? we don't know. Just because someone said, hey, I want to join you 2 years ago, where are they at now? I mean, you're still counting them on your docket. Hey, that's one of my people. But you ain't talked to them in 6 months. Where are they? So now we will actually know what these if someone says, hey, I've got 50 people, that's because they've pledged to me in the last couple of weeks there's a paper trail here. I can show it. I got points for it. Yay! But I mean, all these large communities that have been building communities for the last 2 years that are still here, they're going to have to get those people to come show up and actually pledge to them again. And I hope to see that, because it'll solidify a lot of things for a lot of people. And
Caspian says, holy shit, Noslem was clearly fed up with your crap community. Y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea what Mel and I.
All right, so
you don't know.
Let me interject here, because then again, Caspian, I really appreciate you kind of like answering the questions and everything, and I apologize for the fact that each of your answers kind of like for me brings up a new question, because for me, if you pledge to somebody through the trickle up system, you have to settle in their domain. How does this affect the reservation system that has been in place up until now, where basically in a kingdom where you have 12 duchies, the monarch could reserve up to 6 duchies, and that would include his own. So for example, if I have 3 duchies, I could only up until now have accepted pledges from 3 dukes, and only those 3 dukes would be guaranteed a spot inside the kingdom. But now if I have, let's say, myself and there are 8 other dukes, if all 8 of those other dukes pledge to me through the trickle up system, are they all guaranteed a spot in our kingdom?
Like the held spots. Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know. That might be revealing too many of his devious plans over there.
So when someone pledges in the trickle up system, do I as a count or duke or D as a king have to accept that trickle up pledge?
You sure you haven't already slipped something in the drink?
Yeah,
I think he did.
Do I have, is it mutual? How does that work? Can I just go in with multiple count packages and ruin someone else's plans because I pledged to them and fill up all the county spots? Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah. So,
Darius, I think you just made a good comment. Best guess, only those reserved pledge to you would be able to trickle pledge to you. But wouldn't that be a punishment, for example, to our community of Boardwall, where if I have 3 duchies myself, that I can only get pledges and boost my IP from 3 of my dukes instead of 8 of my dukes? So it's again, I don't think we have an exact answer for it because the system's still being fleshed out.
Yeah, and Caspian just commented on the system too. He said there's an ongoing discussion happening in a spec right now internal to the studio where we're trying to discuss the relationship between swearing fealty for the purpose of trickling up influence versus the reservation system of reserving half your domains for specific individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm sure they're going to be gathering feedback, hopefully from shows like this, because if they get feedback from me in text, we had this discussion earlier, it sounds like I'm angry and I'm pissed off, and if I say the same things that I write, and they're just fucking losing it. If I say the same things that are right, and you can hear my tone, and you can hear my playfulness, and I'm smiling and giggling, you see my dimples, but if I write the exact same things I'm saying right now, it sounds like I'm about to kill you or something. Like people just cower
right now, Nas.
People are like fearful and their feelings are hurt and they have to get Kid to come and talk to me one-on-one about toning it down and shit. Is
there any way to mute the producer of the show?
No.
No, I'm telling you, people are going to come to the show for the Noslem drama. It's going to be
hopefully
a good time.
They'll listen to some of this feedback and implement the system and take these concerns and not fall victim to all those tricks that D thinks up.
The main point is nothing has been posted officially yet, but we're aware of the same questions as you, have the same concerns, and the designers are working on addressing the concerns in the best way possible. That's what Caspian just said. I think that is a great place to leave it.
Yeah, I think that's Caspian's way of saying, D, every question you ask at this point can be covered by this response. I think that's what he's saying there.
That's cool. That's fair enough. As long as there's an awareness of it, I think is the important thing, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so probably as you say, Kit, would be a good. We're at the almost at
an hour.
creeping up on the 1 hour mark. So yeah, maybe look at the contest.
I already have our winner I have our winner picked out.
Caspian sometimes slips in a little teaser or a little thing. Caspian, if you do have anything, not saying you do, but if you do, now would be the time to add it,
not saying
perhaps
you
a
do.
picture of one map, maybe, or something. You never know.
D at the end of these streams is too good.
I could I could talk to you in that Diablo 3 voice you like. How's that for payment?
Stay a while and listen yet again.
Gosh.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, in the meantime, tonight's code phrase was, drum roll, the map secret is in the legend. And the winner is the Legend of the Lich's secret treasure, including his phylactery, is hidden in one of your maps, inked in the borders. And that was Darius. His name is much longer than that, and I would butcher it if I... Oh my God, stay a while and trickle. Kismet. Ah, goodness. So Darius, if you are here, let us know. And you are the winner of tonight's contest. So you need to get in touch with Dee. To get your $10 COE store item credit. In the meantime, I'm not seeing any leaks from Caspian, just an . So unless he is scrambling over there, Vi's like, Caspian better not. Who is going over to the inn tonight? D, Nas, Mel. I am not. I never do.
I have a prior commitment tonight, so I will not be able to make it for. Yep, I can make it for 20 minutes because my thing doesn't start until 6:30. So I'll make it over to the inn for 20 minutes.
Cool. Caspian's
scrambling, so we'll hold on for a little while. Maybe he's teasing us about the teaser, and then they say, "Yep, fake."
Teasing us about the teaser, Caspian, the ultimate tease. So. Anything like while we're sitting here waiting on bated breath to see if Caspian drops anything, D, you should just say stay a while and listen in as many different inflections as you possibly can. Ready, set, go. Or Nas can dance.
Was that what the phrase was? Stay a while and listen.
No, you got to do it in your. Oh, okay, that was angry. Stay a while and listen. All right, there's angry. Next.
Stay a while. Stay a while and listen.
I'm looking.
You're muted.
I'm muted the whole time. When?
I found the secret button.
Oh, God damn it.
D, I just posted a quote. It's getting lost in the Twitch channel. The while you're venturing deeper. Here, I'm going to post it again. You got to read. This is a Deckard Cain quote.
No, I have to have my mouse on OBS or it doesn't fucking record my voice. But yeah, so one of Hawkeye's new settlers or whatever the hell you want to call them was blown away that the Tale of the Blood Oak, the lore reading that D did, was actually us and produced by us and narrated by D, and he just thought it was stand up grade A quality stuff and couldn't believe that we put that together. So.
Caspian dropped an image. Pre-Illyria tools. Pre-Illyria? I need to pronounce that. I don't know if Nazlim can get the picture up.
It's up.
Awesome. So we've got a cleaver, a hammer, a little, I don't know, what do you call the next one? Is it just another type of hammer? I don't know what that is. I don't know much about tools. A mallet.
Yep. Then there's a saw, obviously pitchfork, anvil, and a hatchet.
See, D knows his stuff.
Very cool.
Thank you, Caspian. Very awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, as I said, a couple of people are going to hop over into the COE main Discord in the in channel. It's the one labeled COE topics. So if you are interested in joining them over there for voice chat, please feel free to hop over there in the next 5 minutes or so. And thank you very, very much to Serpentius and Caspian who joined us tonight. Thank you, Caspian, for answering so many questions. Hopefully people in the next 48 hours will come to this and get some of that and juicy information from you. So thank you everyone who tuned in, and congratulations to Darius. And we will see you again in another 2 Tuesdays.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Adios.